Rachel Hollis's Rise Weekend Dallas 2019 just wrapped. And in this video, I'm going to share the 10 takeaways that I left with from Rise Weekend Dallas. My name is Meredith Callagher, and this is the Meredith Callagher Show, where we talk about marketing plans for small businesses. I believe that hope's not a strategy. Every small business owner needs to put a plan in place for success. Rise Weekend Dallas was a 2-day event with a third optional day. When I saw Rachel advertising it, I realized that this conference was taking place 15 minutes from my parents' house in Dallas, which is where I'm sitting now, in a hallway with some amazing pictures of me about 30 years ago. But this hallway was the best light that I found in the house, and hopefully the best sound. So, we got to roll with it. If you hear golf playing in the background, this is the best I could do, guys. My dad loves the Golf Channel. I was introduced to Rachel Hollis about a year ago, and I have just consumed so much from her. I read both of her New York Times bestselling books. I've listened to almost all of her podcasts. I really didn't hear anything new that I had not heard before from Rachel. But you might wonder if I think I wasted my time going. No. First of all, these 2 days gave me time to work on and implement some of the things that Rachel had already taught me. I mean, when else are you going to spend 16 hours working on yourself, right? I was introduced to these great other speakers and leaders. I really adored Jen Hatmaker. She was hilarious, and I just felt like we would be real good friends if she was sitting down next to me. Speaking of sitting down next to me, I think my favorite part of the whole weekend were the 2 women sitting on either side of me, and I'm going to mention them a few times in my top 10. Even if you have read everything that Rachel Hollis has ever said, then you might not hear anything new at one of these conferences, but I still recommend going for the energy in the room, the amazing people that are also in attendance, and the fun. It was just a lot of fun. So the 2 days that I spent with Rachel, we talked about first, owning our past on the first day, and then second, owning our future. Before I give you my top 10 list, let me tell you a little bit more how the conference worked. Rachel Hollis spoke for about 3.5 hours each day, and she broke those 3.5 hours up into about 2 different segments. In between her talks, she had guest speakers. She had Jen Hatmaker, a New York Times bestseller with her own big online community. She had Shelton, an ex-NFL player and Baylor football star who learned a lot because he was cut from like 10 NFL teams, and he has had 1 billion views on YouTube. He has an online community that he calls Rehab Time. She had a guest panel of 3 amazing online business owners, and Rachel actually interviewed them. And we also heard from her husband, Dave Hollis, who we all adored. So here we go. My top favorite takeaways from the Rachel Hollis Rise Weekend Dallas 2019. Number 1, if you aren't growing, you're dying. There's either 2 options when you're a living creature: growing or dying. I think that I was maybe trying to validate for myself why I was at the Rachel Hollis conference. Everybody I met there, I found myself asking, what made you decide to come here? What made you decide to come here? This answer I got, 10 different versions of the same answer, which were basically, we want to grow. There's real power in having control of your life and knowing where you're going. I think that most of us were there because we were interested in growing, not dying. So that was cool. Number 2, self-help is not for broken people. Dave Hollis talked for an hour. He was talking about how to deal with people that might be in your life that think it's weird, basically, that you want to work on your growth. He is actually writing a whole book called Get Out of Your Own Way. And he was suggesting that we shouldn't listen to people, or that maybe think that self-help conferences are for broken people. And, when he said that, I looked around the room and I thought for a second, I wondered, are these 7,500 people here, including me, are we broken, And then I looked to these 2 women next to me and I thought, no, these 2 women are far from broken. In fact, I think these 2 women are the strongest women I have ever met. They were there to grow, and they chose growth when they could have just stayed home and been broken. One of them lost her husband last month. Now, she bought this ticket back in January when she had just found an interest in, just like the rest of us, working on herself and finding, using tools to grow herself. And then her husband died suddenly. But guess what? She came anyway. She said, I mean, with some tears, but still, she said, what choice did I have? I could have sat home or I could come. And you guys, she did not regret it. She said she really felt like her old self and she enjoyed laughing and she did learn. But she is not broken. She is strong. Number 3, in the absence of experience or knowledge, determination can make the difference. So on the panel that Rachel interviewed, 3 online business owners, one of them was Jamie Kern Lima. She is the CEO of It Cosmetics. It Cosmetics was an online skincare, or she started, I think, with a product called Bye Bye Concealer and now makeup line. She built it up over 10 years, I believe, with her husband. And she was just bought by L'Oreal for $1.2 billion cash. Jamie talked about that something that she dealt with, something that I deal with too, a question myself. Am I good enough? Why should I do this? Why am I hosting a YouTube show when I've never been a news anchor before or had a TV show before? So Jamie said she still struggled with that, through the acquisition. She was dealing with, she had to put on her big girl pants and do things she'd never done before. But finally, she saw a quote from a man, I'll link him below because I just looked him up and he looked pretty cool. A guy on, she said on Instagram, Pastor Steve Furtnick, I believe. Again, check below. And he said something that really shut that fear down of, am I good enough to do this? He said, you don't have to be qualified if you're called. Meaning, if there is a desire in your heart to do something, then I now choose to believe that it's there for a reason, and that is enough. That brings me to number 4. When you start something, you are not going to be good at it. I love this. I've heard Rachel say this before, but it is so true. I mean, she's like, that is ridiculous to use that as an excuse not to try something. Well, what if I'm not good at it? She's like, I've got a secret for you. You're not going to be good at it. You're not supposed to be good at it if you've never done it before, right? She says, would you expect your toddler to just start walking? No, they take a step and they fall all over the place. And then they get up and do it again, right? They're not good at it, just like you won't be when you first start something. You just got to start and keep going, right? Love it. Number 5, don't be afraid to ask for help. Again, this is something I've heard Rachel say over and over again, and she's so funny. It just burns her up if celebrities or Instagram stars act like they've just got it all figured out and they are successful at everything. She's even called a few people out when they said that somebody, and I won't say who, a famous chef and athlete's wife, she said that she just could do it all when someone asked her how you did it all, because she was really organized. And Rachel was like, bitch, she cusses a little. You know that's not true. I know you've got 5 nannies and a chef and a driver that helps you. And she said she thinks it's a disservice for us or, her fans to make us think that we need to do everything without asking for help. I love that, you guys. I just want to remember that I don't have to do everything. If I am feeling overwhelmed, I'm just going to ask for help, right? And it doesn't have to always be paid help. You can ask a friend to do you a favor until you can afford to pay someone. Number 6, you can only control your attitude and your effort. That's it. So if you want to see changes in your life, you can implement things that help change your attitude and your effort. Number 7 is a tip or a tool on how to adjust your attitude. So number 7, just because there is a thought in your head that uses your voice does not mean you have to listen to it or that it's true. It's just a thought, and every thought in our head is not true. We need to shut them down. In fact, Rachel says we need to play a DMX song that says, stop it. Just stop it right in its tracks. Drop it. Drop it right there. You don't have to analyze why you're thinking that or beat yourself up for saying something negative. Just drop it right there. Shut them down, open up shop. She didn't know what the open up shop part meant for her stop and drop it situation. She just loves DMX. She's so funny. But she also gave us another tool. She said that we should name that nasty thought in our head, give her a name, even though it's our voice, She calls hers Pam. All right, so she imagines Pam, not only that she has a name, but she's a person standing there saying these ugly things like, you're fat, or you're not good enough to have a YouTube show. She said, imagine, and she asked us to name them. I think I've gone with Teresa. Sorry, any Teresas I know. But she says, name that person, imagine they're standing in front of you, and then imagine if your children are standing next to you. Now, would I let Teresa say, you're not good enough to have a YouTube video show in front of my kids? No, I would tell her to turn around, and who does she think she is? And you don't know what you're talking about. Walk away. Walk away, Teresa, right? I love that tip. We don't have to believe that naysayer, and we just need to shut them down. And honestly, I started doing this, like working on not listening to the negative thoughts in my head. The more you practice doing that, the more that the negative thoughts don't show up. Now, they show up, but I swear that Teresa or Pam, she gets quieter if you practice ignoring her. Definitely. Number 8, keep moving forward, because what other choice do you have? Death, right? Growing or dying? Dave Hollis said this, but that idea was really reinforced by my friend who was here, my new friend, and her husband had just died last month. She said, what was my other choice? To stay home and cry? Yep. A lot of people would have done just that. But she came and she also said, I really don't know what the future holds for my daughter. She had 2 girls, 11 and 13. But what I do know is that we're going to be okay, because I keep moving forward. And oh my God, she's right. So what I learned is, keep moving forward. And even if you don't know what the end goal is, or you can't see it, you're moved by a passion in your heart, just figure out what the next step is. That's all you have to do. Keep moving forward and figure out what your next move is, and do that. And then do the next one, and then do the next one. And at some point, the big picture will probably come into focus. But if it doesn't, it's okay. Just keep looking for that next move. Number 9, working on myself, on growing, is good for my children, even if it means that I've got to leave them for 3 days. Now, Dave Hollis mentioned this in his speech. I guess I really love Dave's speech. Good job, Dave. He told a story about how, he and Rachel are gone quite a bit from their house, but he is fully confident that his kids are going to be awesome. He has evidence of it because the other day, his 2-year-old, Noah, a darling little girl, came in from a day of playing with her grandmother in the pool, and she sat down. Remember, she's 2. And she took a pool noodle and started rolling out her leg. If you're not a runner, you might not know about rolling out your leg, but you take a big styrofoam cylinder that's about 3 times as wide as a pool noodle, and it hurts. I hate doing it, but you roll out your muscles so you're less sore the next day. And so he just thought that was the coolest thing, that Noah is watching healthy habits that he and Rachel are putting into place for their lives, running every day, and she sees that. This was reinforced by the other girl next to me, who also had just an incredible story of strength. But one thing she said, in fact, the first thing she said when I asked her, like I asked everybody, like I said, what brought her to this conference? She said, I have an 18-year-old daughter, who, by the way, she had at 18, because she was this darling 36-year-old. She says, I have an 18-year-old daughter that is amazing. She's so strong and brave. She happens to be politically minded and just puts herself out there. And she said, I wanted to show my daughter that I can be as brave and as confident and daring as she is. How cool is that? Love it. So don't be afraid to take time away from your children to work on yourself, that it's hurting your kids. Working on yourself actually can help your kids, because a lot of times, in fact, I see this with my 15-year-old. He does not like to listen to what I say. In fact, he likes to listen to anybody but me. His tutor noticed that. She was like, that kid does not like to hear a word from you. But he is a sweet kid, and he does, follow my actions. In fact, he goes out and runs sometimes, and maybe that's because his dad and I both like to do that. Number 10, don't forget to cheer on your friends, or if you need support and love, let your friends support and cheer on you. Hatmaker, like I said, I loved every word she said, but she ended her time on stage with a story about elephants. She had a bout with the media about 3 years ago, and I kind of remember hearing about it. I'm not even sure what happened, but I think she made a statement. Her community did not agree with what she said, and a lot of people abandoned her. I think it had to do with gay marriage, and she came out in support of it, and people that had been supporting her were surprised by that, and she thought maybe her career was over. She's got a strong speaking career, and she's written 11 books and had some New York Times bestsellers, and she was very down. So her friend sent her a picture of elephants and said, I want you to look at this picture of elephants. And Jen was like, what the F? I don't really have time for this. And she said, no, just listen, I'm going to tell you a story. So there's a picture of female elephants, and they were all in a circle. I did not know this was true. Just stick with me. Maybe you haven't heard about this either. But Jen said that her friend told her, and then she told us, that apparently when a female elephant is giving birth, then she will lay down in the wild and go into labor, that the other females in the herd all circle around her, and she had a picture of it. They put their booties in the back of the circle, so their trunks face out, and the woman that's giving birth is down, and she just stays down there until her baby's born, right? So they are in it for the long haul. They are kicking and stamping up dirt to put off the scent to predators that an elephant is down and not able to defend herself at the moment, giving birth, and they are keeping watch, right, to protect her. And then when that baby's born, they do two things. First, they all kick dirt on it. Interesting. First protects its skin from the sun, and it also, covers up that newborn scent. And the second thing they do is then they turn around and they all trumpet in joy, and they celebrate their friend. And they stay there until that mama is ready to get up and go on with her life. Jen said, her friend then said, girl, we've got your back. You stay down in that circle as long as you need to stay down, and we will be here. And when you are ready to get up, we will protect you. We will cry and trumpet and celebrate with you, and we will be joyful. How awesome is that? So she encouraged us to trumpet and cheer for each other and to accept the help when we need it. And I loved hearing that. I've got so many great friends that I know are supporting and cheering me. And it just reminded me to, make sure I tell people when they're doing a great job or when I think they might need support, to reach out, to remember to speak up, because everybody likes to hear that, right? You guys, I loved Rise Dallas. I could have probably gone on with a list of 100 things that I learned, but those were the top 10 that I've come up with in the 15 hours since it ended. And I encourage you, if you can make it happen, go to Fort Myers or to one of the other, 6 locations that they released today, but we heard about yesterday. I will link the information to those events below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.